I've made like 16 different apps. I've got five of them, well, four of them that I like mostly. The one I'm about to
Mhm.
show you is like the one I like the least, and I'm trying to
Okay.
understand like, do I want to keep going with it? Because it was the first one that I was
Yeah.
messing with, and like I spent a lot of time on it. I spent a lot of money on it,
Mhm.
relatively speaking. But
Mhm.
like, if there's no validation, then it is what it is. It'll just be like a nice little trophy, like, hey, here was the first app that I made. I didn't do anything
Mhm.
with it, but it was cool. So
Hey, no, it's great, bro. Like, I love what you're doing, and just to get the vibe of the show is coders, builders, business people, people who like to create things, don't like doing these calls, and they don't know what to do when they get on these calls. So my whole thing is, you can practice with me. I've been a facilitator for 10 years. I can walk you through it. You can get, kind of your first one out of the way, get some confidence, and then try to do that with users. Try to do it because, like, just the difference between demonstrating to a prospect and the user is, with the prospect, you show them the flow from A to B to Z. And with customers, you call and tell them to show you how they use it. Like, hey, show me how you use it. And then after they're done, he's like, hey, why didn't you use this? I didn't know that existed. That's insight. Why didn't you do that? Did you know you can do this? Oh, interesting, interesting, interesting. And every time, and how what you do with that insight is up to you. Like, that's the kind of the magic sauce
right.
of the founder, right? Like, you've been experiencing it with me, and you've been a great customer. You're like, hey, I need this, this, and that. I'm like, bet. And I just go disappear for 3 days, come back. I'm like, ta-da. So that is the cycle of early stage startups. You want to do that as much as possible to get the maximum kind of intelligence, customer intelligence, market intelligence. So with that intro, you want to just jump into the demo and start showing me?
Yeah, man. All right. So the name and everything is just whatever it kind of came up with.
Yeah.
I've been keeping it for now.
All right.
But you'll see like some inconsistency. But basically, this is the homepage.
Mm-hmm.
I have it all. Hold on, let me actually go to the thing. I have it all free right now. So like even right here, when I go there, it just doesn't do nothing, which is super
Okay.
cool because when I tried to add this, it actually broke the entire app the first time I did it, and it took me like a week to recover everything. It was a
Okay.
mess.
Yeah.
Um, but basically, this is the home screen. So the idea, just to explain a little bit, is that this is meant for founders who are more so less working with a team, and even if they are working with a team, it's more so that they're visionaries. So like,
Mm-hmm.
they may or may not have a team, but regardless, they have to have a way to be in tune with what they have going on for themselves and for their vision. And like, obviously, you can make stuff with Notion. I do it all the time, but this is designed with the concept in mind of like, you're already designing your vision. You shouldn't have to also design the container to put the vision inside of. So that's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
this is my solution to that basically. But
Okay.
so this is where it starts. It's kind of used in a chronological fashion. So like you would go to Thinking Desk, then you would go to the Personal Clarity System, Decision Log, Offer Vault. But basically it starts with just a brain dump. You can do
Mm-hmm.
some basic formatting. Once you kind of get an idea of what you have going on in your head,
Mm-hmm.
you pick a direction. Like, is this something that, are you experiencing a problem? You want to, make the tree for it, or is it something that you actually have some clarity over? You want to start making a plan around this, and then kind of like the natural progression. This is less of a drafted plan, and it's more of like it's a lesson I learned, or this is a new workflow, or this problem I was having. This is the solution that we designed for it. Um, in terms of like the UI and everything, I'm still messing around with it, but
Mm-hmm.
all the fields, they're just basic stuff. It's not meant to be a pretty app or anything like that. I was trying to make it pretty at first and then decided to go with functionality over everything else. But
Mm-hmm.
um, simple UI on everything. This one is kind of just a deeper level of things, right? So after you've kind of gone through all of this, this is more like the work related stuff and you actually make tangible action here. Then you kind of
Okay.
go to the more subjective zone and you start
Mm-hmm.
messing around with your subconscious. You're like, all right, well, what did I do this week? What kind of challenges did I face? And this just kind of dives deeper into some of the ideas that you use the brain dump with. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like a chronological flow here.
All
This is
right.
a super easy one. It has just a reflection log. It's based on the actual weeks, so you can have multiple entries inside of a week, but it's meant to be just like an overview. Same thing with the monthly check-in. So
Okay.
well, you could throw some
It's kind of
priorities
like
over
a
here.
journal system that goes
Mhm.
along with the vision.
Yes, yeah, exactly,
Okay.
yeah. So the whole concept of this app is that like each tool is extrapolated upon the value later on somewhere, basically. But
And who's it for?
primarily it's going to be founders, solopreneurs for the most part. But in terms of like revenue size, probably anybody that's making like under 20K. But primarily like a solopreneur, or somebody that's leaning on like VAs or contractors, doesn't have like a totally set team. If they do have a team, maybe it's like a co-founder or like a assistant, because
Yeah.
anybody that has an actual team is probably going to use different tools.
Okay.
So that's
All
kind of
right.
like where I'm finding a bottleneck in my validation already. But what do you have? What are your thoughts so far?
So far, it's kind of too much.
I agree.
Not in the feature set, just in the presentation and arrangement.
Okay.
Because you call it the digital desk and the client clarity client hub, right?
Yeah.
And why is there two names? So from like
Well,
the
that's what I
identity
was saying. That the names and everything. That was just what populated with Replit. I'm gonna call it like eDesk if I do that. That's what I put in the URL.
but even
But yeah.
eDesk, even
Mhm.
even eDesk is not what this does, right? Because this is like kind of like a vision journal
Okay.
almost, right? And
Yeah.
and with positioning, what you want to do is you want to find the space in their mind that already exists with ideas, and then position your thing next to it. Say, hey, founder, you know how you have a vision? Well, guess what? Your vision lives in your mind. You can put it in a notes app, but then you're kind of almost, reducing it to the same priority as all your other notes.
Right.
This is the place where your vision gets the respect it deserves, you know?
It just kind of hit me right now, which is literally the live value of like little demos like this. It's a vision board app. You know what I mean? I'm over here thinking like, oh, it's a digital desk. I like your the how do I say this? Almost like
Positioning.
not harsh. No, no, no. Like just the blunt advice there. Like it's not a desk. It's not a desk. It's a board.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even just that alone, that kind of helps me shift the positioning a lot because it
Hmm.
it is much more of a board than anything, and that also kind of gives me a little bit more creative direction because whereas now I'm not having to position it against what a desk would be like and like what is an effective desk for a founder. It's more of,
100%.
hey, you don't even have a vision board. Let me show you what one should look like.
100%. Yeah. And this is a living, breathing thing. And, it kind of reinforces your clarity value proposition as well. Where it's like, this is how you create clarity. Clarity is not an instant, it's an ongoing process. And this kind of tool helps you do that, log the progress, put in all the inputs, right? And then I'll also share with you a resource for UX on how to think about UX, and it'll help with that too. But your first principles thinking is in the right direction to think about. Oh, this is chronologically, so I need to put this first and all that. This is very good UX instinct.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I focused on. Quite frankly, that's what I actually focused on in the very beginning. Like as I was
Yeah.
making it, I was like, man, I want this to look a certain way, and I kind of fixated on it for a little bit, and that's why I ended up
Hmm.
messing up so much. But no, I appreciate that because that was one of the biggest important aspects to me. The look and feel that I want for this app is a
Hmm.
one-stop shop for your vision. Like once you come into this
Hmm.
app, you shouldn't need to go somewhere else to be able to craft all your stuff. And that's why I even have the offer vault at the very end. Like,
Hmm.
if this is going to turn into something that you actually use for your business, put it in this one last spot right here,
Hmm.
and then you go from there, and then you decide where it takes shape in your actual business.
Uh,
But so yeah, just moving forward, same system. Everything's just a basic window with little things. Everything is more
but
of a
what is the
storage
function?
system.
Tell me what's the function of the decision log?
So okay, so as you're going through, right, you have your
Yeah,
thinking desk.
you
You,
you
you
have
go
your
through all the
journal.
steps.
Yeah.
You've done your journal. Now you're like, all right, cool. Now with the thinking desk and the personal clarity system, it allows you to look at things from two different avenues, right? But now
Hmm.
you come to your decision log and you're like, all right, what am I actually going to be doing from here? And this gives you a
Hmm.
place to kind of turn those insights into actual action.
Hmm.
And then, of course, with that, you can kind of determine what categories it is in. And then I don't have it here. I do want to change that, but you will be able to, once they're here, you can select them and choose that it's pending, it was successful, or it was failed. And that one's important.
Okay.
And this one's important as well. But just kind of a way to give a status to your previous decision.
Mhm.
which is just a further extrapolation on the Clarity Lab. So realistically, you would probably go from here to here, but then you would go to the decision log and you would probably reference the Clarity Lab to make those into more concrete decisions.
Okay.
But that's a simple one. It is one of my favorite features actually, that and the problem tree. But and then it's just another simple thing. I got to work on the loading obviously, but similar thing. It's just a title, a description, the status. Are we actually going with it? Yeah, I got to fix that UI
Mhm.
there.
That's
What's the
fine.
price? What's the duration? The format? How many clients is it right now? And then of course some metrics, and then a little note like this is good for like 5 DMs today.
Mm.
Stuff like that.
Like a little
But
diary.
yeah, and it's just for today. Or I guess maybe for the week. I got to double check on
Yeah.
the
Right
data
now it's
population.
okay.
But
Is
yeah,
that the end of it?
yes, that's the app.
All
Um,
right. You can stop sharing your screen. I have a little
yeah,
chat. Yeah. So right now, um, the in terms of let's start with demo critique. Uh, with the demo, you want to have populated things
yeah,
so people can see the use case, and then you want to walk them through an entire use case depending on who you're talking to.
okay,
You know what I mean? So saying like, hey, like for example, now I know like you journal and whatever. I can show you, hey, this is how you take notes. This is how you put journal entries in a folder, and then this is how you bring all the journal entries, into the AI through sources. And this is how you chat with your journal, and this is how you create your new thing, and then you edit it and whatever. And that's like the Caravan Notes use case, and you're like, amazing. Whereas if I'm talking to a business person who wants to do SEO, I'm gonna say you start a folder, you put all your competitions, newsletter, things that are ranking, and then you go and want to write your thing. You talk to chat and bring them all in, and so it changes
right,
from use case to use case. So you want to have a demo that maps out that entire use case from A to Z, right? That's demo wise, you know. Uh, so for your next demo, if you want to show it to somebody, make sure you know what they're kind of going to use it for, and have that entire journey demo down.
yeah. Now,
Okay.
in terms of the actual, and just in your best opinion, um, the size of the app. Like when I look at it naturally in terms of like the navigation, it feels big, but I feel like with the connected use cases of the features, it kind of makes it make more sense. Where
You
do you
have
think
to be
about that?
brutal. You have to be brutal about cutting.
Right.
Like even if you like for me, I like the dictionary feature, but it was adding bloat, it was adding confusion, it was removing from the value proposition. So I just deleted it,
Right.
right? Same thing with a lot of other things, like you hide it, you delete it, you make it invisible, you make it automatic. If it's core but shouldn't be the attention, right? Like for me, when someone says vision journal, right, which is kind of what you're selling, I want to see my vision when I open that app, right? Everything I do, I want it reinforcing my vision. There's nice to haves, like putting in your wins for the day or whatever, but does that actually bubble up to my vision? Probably not, or very insignificant. Maybe it's a little bit significant, but it's not. So you want to take those super significant, heavy tasks that lead up to vision. Like, for example, strategy sessions. I'm not that you should put it in, but that is something like monthly strategy, getaways or whatever, like inspiration, something like it should not have that many steps. Like I do like the first thing you showed, which had the vision lab and all of that.
Mhm.
Almost that plus the journal should be the thing, right? To me, because it's like, oh well, nothing really happened vision wise today, so I don't need to log into my vision journal. But if like today jumped on a call with John Carlos, got super inspired, let me put something in my vision journal.
See, and so as you're bringing the vision component into direct focus here, that is kind of part of the main outcome that I'm looking for with the app too for people is that it keeps you in line with your vision. Like, of course, especially as a founder, you're gonna have to make different decisions. You're gonna end up taking on a client that you didn't anticipate. That's gonna change your workflow. But this is still a place, and that's why there's the decision log. So that when you're logging these things, you're like, okay, yes, I can visibly see this is in line with my vision, or you know what, that decision failed, or it's still pending because I don't exactly know how this adds to my vision, or this feels like it actually detracts from my vision. So that's kind of the idea that
No,
I
but for
wanted
sure,
to.
you have the vision for the app. In the end,
Yeah,
I'm just giving you my opinion, and it it's your baby, right? It's your vision. You should bring it to fruition. I'm just telling you how I feel about it as maybe a potential customer,
yeah,
and how I would find value. And if for me, I just had a place for my vision, right? Because you always have to make this trade-off, right? Which is the
right,
effort into inputting something into any app, right? So me making a decision has almost no effort. Me logging my decision into your app adds a
has
little bit
effort.
of friction, and the more frictionless the experience, because you want it frictionless to the value proposition, as frictionless as possible. And the value proposition here, I think, is this kind of focus on vision, where it's like I can, like my brain has, let's say 10 spots where the vision is kind of influenced and populated and whatever. I can consolidate in this one app, right? I could put all my like manifestos, my thinking, my whatever, which is like the first part, which is like kind of the brain dump, the think lab, the problem solving, problem trees, all of this kind of stuff where I'm mapping out my vision is kind of one tab. And then the ongoing journal thing is kind of like the updates. Like once a week, I'm like, I need to hit my vision app and see what it is. I go and like this week this happened, whatever. It didn't really affect much, but I'm like you're kind of building this habit where you kind of always checking in on the vision, and that's just the journal,
Yeah,
right? And then like the main landing page is the vision.
and that's what you had me thinking there, like where I have it right now, where it opens up and it's the four tools.
Hmm.
They're already on the side, which that's one of the things where
Hmm.
the app or Replit just did that, and I was like, all
Hmm.
right, well, I kind of like this. You can choose how
Hmm.
you want to go there, but if it's already on the side, replace that main screen with more of a visual element that kind of pulls the key data from each tool, basically.
Yeah, like
Um,
a dashboard or something that
yeah,
kind of a home screen, a landing, like
really, I could just change the cards. The way that it's set up, just change the actual visual nature of the cards, and instead of showing thinking desk, it's like key metrics here and then key metrics there, yada
yeah,
yada.
100%. You don't want to repeat things. Like
Yeah.
it's already there. They should be super obvious, you know. And it's super obvious. You have it on a side thing, right? And
Yeah.
you always want to think about visual hierarchy and informational hierarchy and whether they are in alignment. So always when you see a screen, you have to ask, what is the task I want to do here? What is the most important pieces of information? And is it easy to do the task? And can I see all the information? And that's how you kind of inform your UI thing. The more technical stuff, I have like a resource I'm going to share with you. You can check it out in your own time. But yeah, bro, I love what you're doing. Do you have any questions before we wrap up?
Yeah. So I'm curious on your opinion of things, because and this is just kind of my
Hmm.
thinking as a consultant. Um, you know, I- am I ever going to see myself as like somebody who's making money on apps? Probably not. Like if it happens, I'm going to take it serious and I'll be like, all right, cool. Like this is something I do now.
Hmm.
But like my angle is more using these apps as either supplemental or complementary features to my services. Something like this, and this is just more of an opinion, open-ended question, but do you think that something like this is something I should try to modify as a standalone product and charge for it? Or do you think that it has better utility as something that I work with my clients with? So like literally, I have somebody who has a school community. She's a massage therapist. She's trying to get people into that via educational content. Maybe the vision board or whatever I call it is more of a tool that I manage my work with her instead of I'm actually giving it to her. That way, to your point about the friction on entering the decision, you don't do any of that. I do it. You can access the app, but I'm the one that's actually inputting all the data based off of our conversations together. Because that's what my work is. I have very intensive like conversations with people. I learn half of their life realistically. What's your general thought there?
My thought is you always want to pick the most optimal thing.
Mhm.
And like the best, like you don't want, first of all, your clients dealing with any kind of jank and bugs and all of that.
Right.
So that's one thing. The second thing is, what is the most optimal workflow if you remove your creations out of the picture, right? And then number three, which is what I do, like if you can build a thing that is the best version of what you want to use, then fucking do that.